again, Kathy and I, with more political astrology. And holy heck, things are changing fast. Boy, oh boy. But I am Louise Edington. My website is louiseedington.com. You can find me as Cosmic Owl Astrology everywhere as well, YouTube, Facebook, all of those places. And I am offering a weekend immersion workshop for Series called Series Reborn. And we will be doing some deep diving into Series, building on my book that I've self-published. But we'll also be looking at people's charts and things like that. So this is not just me teaching. This is an interactive deep dive workshop to help you learn more about Series and how to work with it in your own chart as well. And otherwise, I have two memberships, and they are both on my website now. I have the Spiral Weave, which is the Light Touch membership, which is one Ask Me Anything call a month and various other benefits. And the other one is the Spiral Codex, which is for those that want to go much deeper. And we have weekly calls for that one. So you can check all the details out on my website. So that's it. Oh, one other thing. I did create a free ebook for those that give me their email and sign up for my newsletter on my website, again, louiseedington.com. And people are loving the ebook. So go and have a look for that too.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Beal. My website is empowermentunlimited.net. I am many places. My YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian. My Patreon is patreon.com/Kathy Beal, where I also have an Ask Me Almost Anything tier. I think it's going to be next Thursday, the 12th this month. And at the $1 level up, I have smart-ass daily forecasts spoken for like 45 to 60 seconds. I have two events coming up you might want to know about. One of them is next Thursday, in addition to the Ask Me Almost Anything. Donna Woodwell and I are doing a 90-minute presentation called Eclipse Portal 2026, looking at the Aquarius solar eclipse and the Virgo lunar eclipse, the ones in February and March this year. And while an astrological background will make it easier, we will also present it in such a way that has information for anybody, and it's going to be the personal and global implications of these events. So yes, there'll be some of my political astrology in it. And then on February 17th, which is a Tuesday night, no, Monday, whatever.
That's the day of. That's the day of the eclipse.
The day of the eclipse. I think it is Tuesday. Annette
Tuesday,
Dion,
yeah.
Annette Dion and I are having a Charging into the Year, the Firehose interactive session for 90 minutes, and we'll talk about the astrology in the Chinese system and what's going on with from the Western astrology viewpoint, and help people make goals for the year. And Annette has some techniques for firing your goals up to bring them into being. Links for both of those are on the classes page of my website, empowermentunlimited.net, and I will also put them in the description box of the video as posted on YouTube.
And I will put all my stuff as well below, but you can find all of it on my website too. I do want to say as well that I think yesterday it came out, I was interviewed on Marina Orm's series of interviews about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and that was released to early subscribers yesterday. So I'll put the link for her place on that one as well, and that's all free. And I think it's going on her YouTube though as well later, so I'll put the link for that too. So anyway, lots of things going on for both of us, as always happens in eclipse season and when all these things are changing. So Kathy, we're going to go through how the news is playing out, what we've been talking about, and then I'm going to go through the aspects, but I'm going up to the eclipse, but I'm only going to cover the really big things because there's big things happening before the eclipse. So
I'm going to preface my roundup of the news with two things. First off, this isn't everything that's happened in the last week. I have found events that actually really noticeably play out the astrological aspects that we had highlighted. And secondly, I'm going to pat us both on the back because things we have been talking about for a long, long time are in fact happening. So be of good cheer, people. All right, so last week, planet Uranus, the destabilizer, the awakener, the cosmic agent of unpredictable change, stationed direct, meaning that it's very, very slowly starting to push things forward. And it also had hard aspects, action-demanding aspects from Mercury, information, votes, things flying through the air, and Venus, women, the people, bunch of things. French police raided the Paris offices of X and summoned its owner Musk for questioning as part of a cybercrime investigation into artificial intelligence generated pornographic deepfakes and Holocaust denial. Aquarius, technology, AI, it all fits. All right. There's an ending or a sudden break of something that's been teetering for a while. It's also a part of this astrology. The Washington Post cut 1/3 of its staff. Let that sink in. 1/3. And meanwhile, Trump has claimed the power to fire 50,000 federal employees. That's Venus in Aquarius, the collective. And he's also announced the shutdown of the Kennedy Center for 2 years for, he says, repairs. Here's a fun one. The CIA.
It was repaired in his last administration, by the way.
Oh, we know what anyway.
Yeah, we know what he's going to do. Yeah.
The CIA took down the World Fact Book, which is a long-standing repository of facts about countries that's used in all kinds of research and teaching. It just disappeared this week. It's gone.
I did not know that one.
I told you I was going to have something you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Russian troops are experiencing frontline communications disruption because Starlink is blocking their internet access at Ukraine's request. We are in the inside-out world.
Well, isn't Elon kind of out of good graces again as well?
Very possibly.
I read he was, so that could indicate why he's doing that. So anyway.
8 more federal prosecutors have resigned in Minnesota over the Department of Justice push to investigate Renee Good's widow. So this brings the total of federal prosecutors in Minnesota who have resigned to 14. There's hardly any staff left there. There was a revelation of a whistleblower complaint being in a safe since May against Tulsi Gabbard that implicates another cabinet member as well as the White House. And so now that this has come to light, suddenly the complaint has gone to Congress, heavily redacted. And the ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee sent a public signal about the seriousness of this by releasing his letter to the head of the CIA, alerting him to a classified letter with deep concerns about CIA activities. So, head of Director of National Intelligence, the CIA, and the White House. Watch this space. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Mercury and Venus last week were in an adjustment aspect with Jupiter. Or I think they're not last week, this week. They're still, Venus is still in this phase. Yeah. But this brought last weekend a deluge, no, it was last week, brought a deluge of the disclosures of Epstein files, one after another. And there were thousands and thousands of references to Trump. And a couple of accounts downloaded all the files before the Department of Justice suddenly made many of them inaccessible that had particularly mind-blowing allegations about Trump. I read some of them. As the Leo full moon was lighting up Trump's 12th house Pluto, which we looked at last week, and the 12th house is one of the houses of criminality, and I said there might be some stuff coming out about what he's been up to. That's tens of thousands of references to him in complaints and email messages and tips. There were also many involving Peter Thiel, who is the mentor of Vance, and the moon lit up Vance's 12th house sun. Okay.
Oh, you should go and read the things about teal. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh yeah, no. Teal's
Yeah.
connected into all of this.
Yeah.
Palantir, you name it. Excuse me, things falling all around me. Multiple countries are now investigating the Epstein files. Multiple countries, including Poland. And Poland says there's a possibility that the pedophilia scandal was co-organized by intelligence services in Moscow. And the Prime Minister of Poland, Tusk, has said that Epstein was probably a Russian spy. We have been saying information is going to come from, I thought NATO. Louise has been saying NATO. These are most of I think pretty much everybody who's looking at this is in NATO. And Bondi can't kill those investigations. Meanwhile, Andrew, formerly known as Prince, was removed from his royal residence.
Yes,
And
because he'd been told to move and he just wouldn't move. It's just
yeah, well now he's moved. He was moved because there's an uptick
ferreted out in the middle of the night, really.
How plutonian.
Yes.
And there have been removals and resignations in at least 2 countries. There's a member of the government in one of the what used to be called Eastern Bloc countries. I'm sorry, I didn't write it down. The House of Lords in the UK has removed a member who had been the UK's ambassador to the US, who was in the files and who was
quite
gay.
briefly, ambassador to the US. He was fired quite quickly. So I'm a bit, as a Brit born, I am a bit peed off that people are calling for Starmer's resignation over it when they're not calling for who to be out. But anyway.
The chairman of a major law firm, big powerhouse firm, Paul Weiss, resigned over a revelation of his ties to Epstein. And this is one of the firms that buckled under and kissed the ring very, very early on when Trump was demanding huge concessions from big law firms. This is one of the first ones to go. The chairman of the LA 2028 Olympics committee, organizing committee, also resigned.
I saw that one.
Andrew's 2 daughters have spoken out in shock, saying they had believed their father, which is an expression of Venus squaring Uranus. And we've got a couple of big things doing that. One of them being the kidnapping of the mother of journalist Savannah Guthrie.
I know.
Whose investigation she investigated the Epstein survivors and had a piece that was ready to go with them on camera that was cut by NBC in 2015. And she's in the Epstein files for that reason. Whoa. Don't think this is, well, anyway, I won't comment. That's just there. It fits the astrology. A couple more things. Kamala announced the change of her website from Kamala HQ to headquarters as a progressive media hub targeting millennials and Gen Z. And she's teamed with a liberal advocacy group called People for the American Way, which television producer Norman Lear founded. So, like the groundhog, bam, she popped up, and it's all this Venus square Uranus, sudden changing thing involving technology. All right. Final thing I want to leave you.
And she's cancelled some of her book tour engagements. So, we don't know where this is going yet, right? So anyway.
Well, exactly. I mean, this is what she's announced so far, but why would you have to cancel your book tour appearances for this? Yeah. I hear jungle, just look at that Uranus stationing direct as drumbeat getting louder and louder and louder. Okay. Yeah. Well, final thing I want to leave with is right now, Saturn is in the final degree and change of the sign of Pisces. So maximum Saturnian, Piscean stuff, and we're seeing maximum derangement coming out of a leader or an old man. Trump posted AI images of the Obamas as monkeys. He has posted an AI-generated image of him standing behind a shield with his arm around a preteen girl. Not
Oh,
sure
he's
that reads
just,
as he thinks it does.
oh, he's so gross. Oh,
And he has so or he yanked the funding for the Gateway Tunnel, which has been in the works for
mm,
so long, that will really solve commuting problems between
mhm,
New Jersey and New York. So he yanks the funding. State of New Jersey immediately files suit as soon as it goes to
mhm.
reinstate it, and then he tells Schumer that he will restore the funding in return for Penn Station and Dulles Airport being renamed for him. So I'd leave you with the probability that we will see even more Mad King. I mean, we've been seeing a lot with as Saturn scoots its way out of Pisces. Oh my God,
Oh yeah. Oh, we have. Yes.
more
And I
to
could
come.
not believe the things he posted about the Obamas. Absolutely disgusting. But anyway,
Puerile is not a strong enough word.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to share the chart this week again, but only I invite you just to follow the process. We've talked about it a lot, about how all these planets are moving through the last two signs of the zodiac into Aries. Neptune has moved into Aries already, but we start the day today, February the 6th. Uranus is still at the degree that it's stationed director and the minute. So Uranus has not moved yet. So we're still getting these shocks and surprises, as Kathy said in the news. And so we did have Mercury square Uranus, and Venus is coming up to square Uranus, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I do want to point out that this Uranus station was conjunct Algol. And
Yes.
Algol has a lot to do with abused women as well, kind of getting revenge, if you like, or whatever, or abused divine feminine, whatever you want to call it. So, she's kind of off with their heads kind of people, kind of energy in many ways. I find her as a very feminist kind of um, thing. I know she's got a bad reputation as a demon star because women have been demonized, but I think Algol's adding to this people fighting back kind of energy. So that's where we started.
May I add
I've
something?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
the astrologer Alex Trenoweth has really made a study of the role that Algol has played in the charts of the royal family. And
Mm,
this reminds me that one thing I neglected to mention was uh, someone who's normally never in the news, the king's brother Edward, actually spoke out against
mm,
what his brother has been doing. So
yeah.
this conjunction here makes me
Mhm,
suspect that there will be even more about whatever in the world Andrew
mhm.
Mountbatten Windsor has been
Oh,
up to.
well, what all of them have been up to. And if anybody's wondering what these are, I'll explain that when we look at our charts that we're going to look at. But I've set this chart for the moment Mercury moves into Pisces. So that's a big shift happening today, the first of quite a few shifts that are happening on this day. Mercury moving from an air sign into water sign. I think, this is going to part more clouds, more kind of things are going to be revealed, but it also can be more emotional as well because of whatever news is coming out. Because a lot of this news is very distressing, what's coming out of the files and things. And it's a mutable sign, and people don't like change. So go back to doing your self care first, putting your oxygen mask on. But I also think it's a time to not look away because of all the other aspects, and don't go and bury your head. We're not going back to how things were. I think we have to face up to this moment. But, that's how I feel about the shift from the air. Mercury in Aquarius was very fast moving, kind of quite a lot of shocks because Mercury also squared Uranus, which is in Venus sign before moving into Pisces. The news and the documents, which is Mercury coming out, have been so shocking. And fair play to all these people that are going through them one by one. I have not got the time, but I follow as many as I can, and it's just hideous what's being released. And so, you don't have to read every one, but just get the general idea of what's being released. So what would you say about Mercury moving into Pisces? So,
I agree with the emotionality. I would also
mm,
point out that we all could become much more of a sponge. Mercury in Pisces doesn't necessarily think in words.
mm,
It just kind of becomes one with whatever the information is. I've known people who have Mercury and Pisces in their natal chart and they think in images. They don't think in
mhm,
words. So there could be a real increased sopping up what's going on with everybody else, or awareness of the experience of others, which may or may not
mm.
translate into empathy.
Yeah, yeah. And I would say it's also can bring a bit of confusion about what's
Oh,
going on.
yes.
Mixed messages, what's true, what's not, all things like that as well. But and Mercury's going to be in Pisces for quite a while because later we're going to have a retrograde. We're not there yet. Don't
Oop.
start panicking about a retrograde. But
Right.
so on to the 6th, sorry, the 7th. There's no major aspects that day, so I'm going to whiz on to the 8th. Venus gets to 27 degrees and squares Uranus. And they square at 27 degrees 28, which is where Uranus is now. So Uranus is starting to move. But these two are in what's called mutual reception, with Uranus being the modern guide or ruler for Aquarius and Venus being the guide or ruler of Taurus, which means they're really speaking to each other. And, you know, Taurus is values um, um, and it's also our senses, and it's deeply rooted things. And Uranus is kind of breaking everything open. It's also connected to all things kind of energetically physical, like money and so on, but also you know, women and things that are more kind of sensual in the world, or you might call it. And this square with mutual reception square, we're feeling it already. We were talking beforehand, and I'm not going to share the story here about an experience I had that was very Venus Uranus, but it's also breakthroughs, in my opinion. It's breakthroughs and kind of sudden aha moments of, you know, awakening of this has all been happening, you know, for so long. I think more and more people are just going to wake up to this big network, to my mind, which is Uranus, I mean Aquarius as well, of abuses of power and corruption, which again we've been trying to pull the dots together about for months. Anything to add on that? It's a big square, I think, because the
Well,
yeah.
there's an entertainment or an arts component to
Hmm.
this, which makes me wonder what is going to happen at the Super Bowl.
Oh
What is going to
yeah.
happen at the Super Bowl? Because there is a Grammy Award winning artist who is in fact American
Mhm.
born, but people are saying he isn't, who is the halftime entertainment, a Puerto
Mhm.
Rican artist named Bad Bunny.
Mhm.
And then also the Super Bowl is known for its highly inventive, impactful commercials, people, corporations.
Mhm.
So just watch something late in the
Mhm.
day when the Super Bowl is going on, some kind of surprise, some big shock. And I
Mhm.
also won't be surprised if, under the cover of all that, a woman isn't jettisoned from a position of power. Just a
Mm.
hunch.
But also, if you watch the Grammys, Bad Bunny did, you know, call out ICE and things at the
Right.
Grammys, and so, you know, his Kendrick Lamar, his performance last year was quite political. I think Bad Bunny's might be more political. He seems pretty fearless about speaking out. So,
Hmm.
hmm yeah. So that's yeah. I forgot that was on the day of the Super Bowl because you know, I'm
Hmm.
not into sports. So, but I will be watching it for him. So, anyway, February the 9th, Monday, we have the last quarter moon, which I'm not going to get exact, but it's just part of this process as we move towards the eclipses. The last quarter moon will be at 20 degrees Scorpio, 20 Aquarius, but that's really the releasing phase. The Dane Rudyard called it the crisis in consciousness, with the moon in Scorpio right afterwards, posing Uranus. I think that's kind of really kind of soaking up all this shock and stuff that's coming, and kind of sinking into it and saying, I have to. In fact, the Sabian symbols on one of the videos I did spoke to this as well. It's like I have to, stand up for my conscience, really. It's like this conscientious objector kind of energy, to my mind, about what's dirty secrets are being revealed in all its ways. So, it goes on then to, of course, aspect Venus and things, and you can see Venus has then moved to the last degree of Aquarius too, which is another potent degree. So I think people are going to feel like they have to take a stand in all kinds of ways of what's being revealed by this. Any more to say on that
Nope.
one?
I'm
Nope.
complete.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. On to February the 10th. Venus leaves the building of Aquarius, and the pile up in Pisces gets even bigger. Mercury did meet at Pallas Athena right before. I didn't focus on that, but that's strategy, that's more information, pulling pieces, dots together. But Venus is said to be exalted in Pisces. And as well, I think that's going to kind of increase this energy of, I'm feeling all of this, this energy of what we now know. And I think it's going to increase the empathy tenfold. I'm sure you can add to it.
Well, there might be an almost like religious aspect to all of this, and calling out people who claim to be Christians who are living contrary to the Bible. There might be much more of an in the street, well, using music, art and music, and empathy and love. And I used an example of this in my forecast for next week that I heard somebody else just basically channel, which I thought was hysterical. Danielle Agnew basically channeled this.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the protesters in Minneapolis standing outside the hotel where ICE is staying, and they're singing songs about how you can lay your guns down. They're not singing nasty, angry songs. They're singing songs saying it's okay to quit, basically. And they, by the way, got nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize.
They did? Cool.
The people of the city of Minneapolis. Anyway, so just watch as Venus is in Pisces, there's a tendency to see the best in people, or maybe to fool yourself. That's there too. But you can. This is like seeing God in the eyes of everything you encounter. Seeing God in a sunset. That sort of vibe. And just notice the pile up there, and
So
being highly aware of the lesser among us, the disadvantaged among us.
Exactly. And I would just like to mention, I came across a YouTube channel that's fairly new, and I think I'm going to add it to that document that I created that's in a Google Doc in all these descriptions. But also I might tag his channel under mine. I can't remember the name of it now, but he was a Black Panther, a member of the Black Panther Party. And he's exactly talking about we need to get more strategic, not marching, fighting against and things, but doing things that are very strategic and more kind of calling people in. He even suggested if you've got people who are in your family who are working for ICE or whatever, or Border Patrol or the military, just keep texting them and just kindly saying, just don't, thank you for serving the country, but remember that you served the Constitution and things like that. And I love you, that kind of thing, instead of being against them and fighting them and making them go. But that brings me to my rant. I don't like the word resistance for the same reason, and he doesn't use it either. So if ever he's only got about 6 videos up so far, and I'm so glad I found him. I listened to like 4 of them on my walk this morning. So yeah, because he's been there. He knows what this kind of work needs. Anyway, really interesting guy. So February the 11th, Mercury will meet the North Node on February the 11th. Now that's interesting because when Mercury does go retrograde, it will go back to this point again later. But any conjunction to the North Node is pulling us towards something. It's not, it's giving us the opportunity towards something. And that, I think that speaks to what we were just speaking about as well, about thinking differently about how we fight this, Yeah. Doing things like they're doing in Minneapolis. There you go. And with Pallas Athena being strategy, he was saying you need focused strategy to fight this. Can't just go out and just wave a sign on a corner. So anyway, it's all coming to a head. So so that was, did I get February the 11th? That was on February the 12th that the actual conjunction happened. Sorry about that. Mercury's moving quite fast though. And you are in the pre-shadow of the retrograde now, but don't fuss that one. There's too much else going on. So Friday the 13th, we have a Friday the 13th, which are not unlucky because it's Venus Day and 13 is a Venus number and the number of the goddess. And on the 13th, Jupiter will oppose asteroid Juno, but the moon joins that party too. Really, all of this is kind of happening pretty much together. And this is Jupiter being retrograde in the sign of the moon in Cancer. I kind of feel is almost like the natural laws. I see Jupiter as really the higher natural laws of the zodiac. And being retrograde, Jupiter's kind of looking at how these natural laws are kind of not being lived by, and opposing Juno, that's about our sacred contracts with each other, our marriage with each other, if you like. The moon's there opposing her own sign. So this is really looking at how the divine feminine or women and families are being impacted by all of this. Any more to say on that one?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. I know. I thought you would. I could say loads, but I wanted you to say more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, fifth house does have to do with children and risk-taking and fun. And the 11th, and Jupiter expands, it just keeps mushrooming whatever it's in contact with. So the two things I thought of and Jupiter is in the house that represents legislative bodies. It represents Congress. So very well something could come to a head involving, there is something very likely that will mushroom involving institutions, Capricorn, long-standing institution power structures that have had agreements.
And a reminder that in mundane astrology, what we're looking at really, the moon is the people. So
right. So it could be a really big day, for more like maybe even some action. I know that seems impossible.
No, I think it's happening. But then we have another massive shift, right? So later on February the 13th, in the evening, Eastern time, Washington time, Saturn joins Neptune in Aries. And we've kind of had a brief look at that last year. Saturn and Neptune both were in Aries for a while, but now we're heading towards their conjunction at 0 Aries. And it's a conjunction that happens about every 36 years. It depends on the patterns. But if you go and find that thing that I talked about with Marina Ormes, thanks to some research with a client of mine, we kind of did together, we pulled some stuff together. This is the first time this conjunction has happened at 0 Aries, which is the first degree of the zodiac, in over 6,000 years, and in fact 3 astrological ages. And this ties in with all these Yuga ages. We are literally starting a new kind of great age here, 26,000 year age. Okay, but I try to explain that in that video. So it's huge, but Saturn in Aries is quite driven to start change. And I always think of Saturn as mastery. Yes, it could also manifest as some people trying to really push their rules onto others. But Neptune is also the spiritual warrior. So it's we're going to feel that conjunction, which is exact a week after this, as soon as Saturn goes into Neptune. I think, wouldn't you agree?
I absolutely agree.
Mm,
And also, uh, Aries, yeah, there's a possibility of Saturn and Aries being some big bully coming and trying to take over everybody, but Aries is a Lone Ranger. I think
mm,
what I see happening and what I have observed, especially from last year, is um, individual people just stepping up and claiming dominion over their own energy and their own lives
mm,
and their own connection to spirit. Neptune represents everything that's untethered from ordinary
mm,
reality. And there could be, I heard a great phrase, and I regret that I did not write down the name of the creator who said this. This could be divine rage really fueling
mm,
a lot of action. And that doesn't mean bullying and stepping on people. It means that is the fire that is burning while all of these other bodies are moving into Pisces. So that's the underground, or maybe not even that much, but it's like there's a volcano
mm,
going in the water, making hot springs. I'm just
mhm.
at the babble point here, but I think
No,
you
no,
get
I
my
know.
drift
I
here.
get what you, oh, totally get what you mean. It's kind of like, these two are the first to really move out of Pisces, and it's kind of all this stuff that we're seeing now. It is, I think Divine Rage is a really good one to say. It's like we cannot let this stand, and each person is feeling it, no matter your astrology. This is huge. So
And I think it's going to burn off a lot of the fog that we've been living under for 14
yeah,
years with Neptune
yeah,
in Pisces.
yeah, I do too. And a lot of the, conspiracy theories and cult energy as well. Just saying.
Mhm.
So people are suddenly going to see that they've been had, basically, shall we say, in many ways. On the 14th, not much aspecting there, but we can see that the moon is, heading towards all this cluster of planets here as well. On to the 15th, Mars will conjunct Vesta. Vesta, if you've been watching our other videos, is literally to do with the state and the hearth for what we are doing. We're heading towards the eclipse. The sun is already on the moon of the of the USA chart, by the way. But Mars and Vesta is about, to my mind, about real kind of taking action for the people in this to protect the state in all its forms, like the world order as well, and other countries. This is not
Mhm.
just the USA. But, mm-hmm, for the collective, I think,
I
really.
agree. I agree.
Mm-hmm. And then briefly, Venus as well on the 15th meets Pallas Athena. So more of that kind of strategy kind of energy, how we can be more creative about how we are, fighting for something, it's not against. So on to the 16th, unless
One
you
more
want to
thing
add to
about
that
that,
one.
as you
Mm,
as you go on, there
mm.
might also be something that it does involve church leaders, and
Oh,
particularly
cool.
female church leaders, with
Hmm.
Venus in Pisces conjuncting Pallas Athena.
Oh, absolutely could. Yeah. And February the 16th, the sun, we're just right before the eclipse, which is the next day. The sun will square Uranus exactly, very early, 12:01 a.m. on the 16th. So I'm not going back to that. And of course, that's just as shocking and change bringing and awakening bringing as Mercury square Uranus was and Venus square Uranus was, because the sun is the core of our being, and really it's just, this is on happening on the eclipse basically. So the eclipse is square to Uranus, and so more people are just going to wake up. Before I let Kathy just say more, The other aspect on the 16th is that Mercury, trotting along here in Pisces, will trine Jupiter, and also at the same time really will sextile. These are flowing aspects of opportunity. This Jupiter opposition to Juno, which is not exact anymore, but it's still being affected. So, this is bringing more up about how we're seeing the structures kind of fall apart, but how we can think about recreating them, I think, to support more people. Right. Anyway.
Lots and lots of talk about the effect on many, many people. I mean, that with Mercury in the interconnected waters of Pisces and Jupiter, which expands everything it touches, in the sign of mothers and families and nurturing and food, there'll be a lot of information and thought and communication and messaging going on involving all those matters.
Yeah.
I'll also just throw in that at this point, as the sun makes an exact square to Uranus, and it kind of moves along, this is triggering shocks and sudden changes in the charts of both of the top two people in our government.
Oh, yeah.
We mentioned this last week, but just put that in the back of your head.
Absolutely. And that's both them doing shocking things and
Also
seeing
that.
it and revelations about what they're doing. So all of those things. So I'll put the eclipse chart on, I think. So this is the actual eclipse chart. I can't believe that it's right on the ascendant in DC on the eclipse, even though it's not visible over the US. It's massive. But I've done a whole video on the eclipse. Kathy's doing a presentation as well, and she's got a video, and this eclipse is pretty massive. But just looking at where it is in the US, in the head of government, if you like, in DC on that day, it couldn't be closer to the ascendant, which is kind of new beginnings and things. So this is a major reset for the USA as a whole. We don't even need to look at the US chart, except I will say that the midheaven for the eclipse chart is on the ascendant of the Sibley chart. So
for anybody who might be hyperventilating, I'd like to point out that as this is happening, we have a new operating system being installed involving how we get along with each other, like what our communities are, what our networks are, who we are as a people. This is a reset of who we are as a people. And as this is happening, look at that pile up in Pisces. We have Venus and Mercury and the North Node in Pisces saying the way of the future is we are all in this together. So there's a gentleness and a softness and a potential for, maybe this anesthetizes us, I've been saying, but I think it's more than that. I think it brings a higher purpose to everything.
And there's so much more I could say, but it's just huge. It's huge for the USA, it's and so I think it's a good thing, because I always think of the first and the second houses as kind of this newborn energy, and then with the Aries in the second house of kind of values and things as well. So Aries is a new start around that as well, saying our values are different. It's just massive. So whose other chart are we going to look at today? So people in the news. We
had two that we singled out, and I would let you choose the order. Do you have a preference?
I'm going to save the other one till second and do Epstein first of all.
First, I have more to say about the second one, so good.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I don't want to look at his chart again, so I'll put the eclipse around it again. So I did say I would mention what these points are when we look at these charts. This is asteroid Epstein, and guys know that we've looked at that asteroid and Epstein's chart before, and his chart is really living on after his death, if he's dead. Anyway, and this is where that asteroid Epstein will be actually on the eclipse, but it's only 3 degrees apart. And so the first thing I noticed, because we do have a time chart for Epstein, is that the actual asteroid Epstein is on his third house moon. And on Eris, which is the table shaker, as I call her. Saturn and Neptune are on his Pallas Athena. The third house is communication. It's also siblings, so I wonder if something
Right, and his
might come
brother,
out from his brother. Yeah,
his brother. Hmm.
yeah, uh-huh. But Aries, I think, all these documents, which is also third house, are just going to keep revealing more and more. I don't think we've even touched the tip of the mountain yet, but
Well,
well,
look at Jupiter
I yeah,
on his Uranus, and they're
Uranus.
both just within the seventh house of partners and open enemies.
Hmm.
So people are going to turn. There may be even more really disturbing bits of news that come out about the people that ran with him. There are some
Hmm.
names that have shown up already that kind of make you go, "What? Really? You? Oh no!"
I know,
Uh,
yeah. And Jupiter is not stationing direct yet, but is going to station direct at 15 degrees. So on that Uranus, it's that turnaround is going to be around for a little while, I think, right? So, and I think you mentioned when we were talking about doing this that the Leo full moon that we've just had was right on his nodes, so that's another big turning point as well, and bringing things out. The Leo side of the moon in that same house that Kathy just talked about, of more
all those
things coming
people.
to light.
All the
From
shining a light on all the people that he had been doing things with, all the leaders, all the people in position of power,
hmm
all of the celebrities. But there's
yeah.
two more components of this I want us to mention.
I'm
Uranus
just
and
taking that 10-degree bit out, so
oh,
we know.
sure.
I kind of explained that already, so yeah. Go on
So
now. Sorry.
Uranus at 20, it's just kind of sitting and it's sitting at 27. Taurus is in an adjustment aspect or a quincunx to Saturn in Libra up there in the ninth house. So that's
Mhm.
even more money stuff coming out. People in positions of power and authority having to suddenly jump ship. Lots of that. Lots of that will be
Mhm.
coming out even more.
It's also the ninth house of the courts and justice, and I believe
Right.
some of the justices in this country are in the files too. Just saying.
Two of them are that I know
Yep.
of. Yep.
Yep.
And looking at that up there, I just want to bring up one other thing. Now, they're not really tight, but Epstein was born during a time when Saturn and Neptune were conjunct. So
hmm
he was born under an earlier one in the sign opposite where the current one is going to happen.
hmm
And he kind of had this illusory mystique with the power structures, and he had all these weird hidden deals that fits that. Also, just this may end up being important. I don't know,
hmm
but he was born on the day that Dwight D. Eisenhower was inaugurated.
hmm
Eisenhower was a former general who had been a Republican and became no, he had been a Democrat and became he switched parties. I don't even remember which way it went. Now, I think he
hmm
went to Republican, but he was the person that warned about the power of the military industrial complex. So there's something
hmm
about Epstein coming out of, emerging from that period of hope and time in the early 50s and how
But
he
the
worked in the
eclipse,
system.
the eclipse is also making an unbroken flow to his Saturn in air signs, kind of more information coming out. But I'd love to mention this bit too. On the eclipse, Mercury communication is right on his natal Venus Mars conjunction. And so, just the more documents, I think. There's also with Venus, evidence that he may have been funded by, shall we say, just Russia. There's evidence in the files that, he was mostly funded by them to take down the West. And so, which we've kind of talked about as well over
And
many months.
Jupiter up there, Jupiter sitting in its direct station degree at 15
Mhm.
Cancer is in a trine to that
Oh, yes, so it is as
Mars
well.
and Venus. So that's just more and more and more stuff
Mhm.
flowing about money and how things ran.
And of course, Mercury will station retrograde at 20 Pisces and go back and forth over this. And then Venus will come over this as well. So I'll tell you, his chart is living on, and we're going to find out even more, I think. So, right. So, would you agree?
Oh, yeah, well, there are still millions of files that have not
Yeah.
been released. And now
Hmm.
that other countries are doing their own investigation, they can't be
Yeah.
held
Shut
back
down.
here.
No. Hmm. So, yeah, the other person.
Can we start with the full moon around her chart? Would that
Oh,
be
sure.
okay?
Let
Because
me,
that's
of
when she
course.
started to come back into the news, and it
Hmm.
kind of explains why.
Yeah. So let me just get that. And then I will get her chart. There's the snake in the grass. I'm sorry. So the Leo full moon, um, right on her moon and very close to her nodes. But this is in the fourth and the 10th house of, basis of home security. Look at what her job is. Anyway, I'll let you go on, Kathy, because
No, home
you.
security, and this was lighting up. Like suddenly
Mhm,
she's very prominent, and we find out
mhm,
as the moon is building, oh, she's in Fulton County, Georgia, seizing
mm,
equipment. And then this information from a whistleblower comes out about a complaint against her that she just locked away. She didn't let it be processed. And
mm,
it's come out that she's also been in Puerto Rico seizing voting machines there. That hasn't been in the news, but people don't
mm.
tend to think about Puerto Rico. But look at what is going on in her chart. She's got her
Oof,
Uranus opposition building, all right?
she
Uranus,
does. Mhm.
and this is midlife crisis stuff. This is when your life flips over completely, and it's
She's
going,
had one. She's had one pass of that already, right? So,
and that
hmm.
would have been about the time whenever the complaint
The
got started.
whistleblower complaint. Hmm.
I think
It would,
Uranus is
yeah.
now where it was then, because it was from last
I
May,
can.
whatever it was she was
Oh,
doing.
let me actually kind of just get it exact. I think it's worth looking at because um so I'll do her actual first pass of her. It was a bit. It was actually, well, actually she's had two. So the first one, June 26th. So again, you
Mm.
don't feel these things necessarily on the day, but right before that, the whistleblower complaint came out and was locked away. But I think this shows that it's not remaining locked away for a long time, shall we say?
No, again, this is
Hmm.
the Uranus opposition is a time of life that regularly occurs for
Hmm.
everybody, and well, if you live that
Hmm.
long, and it's what used to be called midlife crisis. People would just do really reckless things and blow their life up, or
Hmm.
just change everything. I cut down decades worth of an existence and moved halfway across the country, bam, at mine. I chose,
Mm.
and she may have something much more, less of her own choice about to happen. There
Well,
was one.
her own Uranus is in the house of secrets and lies and things as well. So,
The
amongst other things.
one other thing I want to mention.
Oh,
Oh,
let me go
can you
back
put the
to
full moon
the.
back on? One more
I'm
thing
going
about
to, yeah.
the full moon chart
Hmm.
before we go to the chart where I think everything's going to blow for her.
Hmm.
Tip in my hand. So Eris is on her Venus, and Chiron's been on her Sun. So
Chiron station direct on her Sun too, and Eris station direct on her Venus. So that makes that even more potent, right?
I would say so.
So carry on. Sorry, I didn't mean to
No, and I'm
interrupt.
noticing that my software generated a slightly different degree for her son. It generated 2301. They're within minutes. So
Oh, that
basically,
5 minutes. Yeah, that's
basically,
probably just the time I used. Right.
troublemaker,
Mm-hmm.
basically
Mm-hmm.
troublemaker energy
Mm-hmm.
coming to
Mm-hmm.
roost
Mm-hmm.
now.
And I want to give a shout out again for asteroid Epstein is going over her Mercury right now.
In the solar 12th house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of secrets and hidden things and Mercury. That whistleblower complaint, I think it's going to come out, and I think it's going to be so bad what she did because she's probably funded by
Well, that's been
you.
the, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It
mm-hmm.
does seem that there's some speculation about the timing to connect this to uh, a military campaign that Ukraine had planned against Russia, and there's a just wait and see if there isn't something about
Mm-hmm.
information getting to the Kremlin about what was going to happen.
And Mars on the full moon was on her south node, right in the 10th house. That's more things coming back from the past as well, I would say. So,
There's a military
mm,
combination.
yeah,
Um,
there you go.
can we look at the solar eclipse on her chart?
Oh, of course.
I think this is the day
My
of
pleasure.
the time of reckoning.
Okay, go for it.
Well, we have mentioned that she's got Uranus that's been moving back and forth in an opposition to her own Uranus. It's applying now for its third pass, and it is squaring bum 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 the solar eclipse. And
Let me
depending on how
draw
you
some
run the
nice
chart,
lines on. So, yeah, depending on how you run the chart, but they all work. So,
no,
yeah,
either
yeah.
it's in her 11th house Congress or in her
Mm-hmm.
10th house career. Regardless, Uranus from both directions forcing a reset very
Mm-hmm.
publicly for her. I don't think whatever has been going on is going to stay quiet. And it's also fascinating that Vesta in her chart actually turns this into a Grand Cross. Her Vesta in
It
her chart
does.
is, ooh, okay.
And speaking of Vesta, I did mention this Mars Vesta conjunction when I did the transits. That's in her 10th house of career public visibility at 19 degrees. That is aspecting her by fire and air aspect of opportunity, but her Mars in Aries. And Ceres is right on it at that time. I think state secrets are, you could say, are going to be, she's been giving away state secrets in some way in collaboration with somebody
In
else.
collaboration with, because we've already mentioned that this eclipse
Mm-hmm.
also has a really catalytic impact on two other people's
Mm-hmm.
charts in addition to the US chart. So if there is a moment when everything blows up, when the pivotal log in the Jenga puzzle is
Mm-hmm.
pulled out, this eclipse is it.
And it might not. So for those of you going, it didn't come out on February the 17th. The moon has to gain some light after the eclipse, and eclipses kind of are a big like jolt and a reset, if you like. So it will start to come out for sure.
Well,
But
no,
I think it's
two
going to
of the
be, I think it's going to be pretty quick though, with Uranus involved, don't
I
you?
would imagine. Also, Mars is going to trigger the eclipse point as it moves through
Mm-hmm.
uh, um,
Very
Aquarius, and
clear, yeah.
then later this spring, Uranus is going to hit the eclipse point as well. All of which means
Mm-hmm.
there are levers embedded in this, or maybe like a string of explosives embedded in this that
Mm-hmm.
could go off again and again and again. So if she somehow miraculously still has her job in a couple of
Mm-hmm.
days after this eclipse, I wouldn't expect it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever this
Hmm.
is not going to go away. It will continue
Oh,
to rumble and rumble, and there'll be a couple of really big, explosive, clarifying moments.
yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, I'd say she's kind of toast. And I might take the time a little bit to look back at her chart. I think back to when she left the Democratic National Committee to support Bernie Sanders. I think this has been in the planning since then. You know,
Interesting.
I really kind of feel it is because she is that kind of sneaky. Hmm.
Interesting.
And I think we know that with Heritage Foundation and all those Russell Vought and people like that, I think we know that the far right have been planning this for years, all of it. Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
I always wondered how she made her money after she resigned in Hawaii. Well, perhaps we now know.
hmm, well,
Mm,
well.
yep. So I think that's it, right, for today. There's probably loads more bits we could say, but unless you just want me to quickly show where when Mars will get to 28
Oh,
degrees, do you want me
sure.
to have a quick look at that? Why
Yeah.
not? So I can just move Mars to 28 Aquarius and
And if anybody wants to chime in on this, her chart is up in the Astro Insight Lounge, which I run
mm,
on Facebook. It's a private group.
mm,
And there's been some pretty interesting commentary on her chart. So you could
mm,
join in.
yeah. Yep. So, Mars squares that Uranus opposition again on February the 27th, not long away, 10 days after the eclipse. That could be when it really kind of kicks off. So,
Hmm.
just to show it.
Hmm.
It's because then we'll have had the Saturn Neptune conjunction right in her 12th house as well. But look at this pile up here on her Venus on that day as well.
Well, well.
Eris, Ceres, Chiron, all on her Venus. Mhm. I think we'll find out how much money she's been raking in from all of this as well, amongst other things.
Very possibly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Wow.
And if someone is looking
Mm.
for a person to be the distracted sacrificial lamb, I put
Mm.
her high on the list of people.
Oh, possibly, yeah. I would. And, to go back to the day of the eclipse in this 11th house, Venus comes back online, as you will, on that day, conjunct that North Node in that collective house. And I think that could be when she's starts to be thrown to the wolves, at least. Because Pisces has a very sacrificial kind of energy as well.
Hmm.
So,
Does.
oh, look at Venus and Mercury again on that day too.
Well, well, well.
Okay. Alrighty. So it's happening, people. All that we've talked about, all the dots we've tried to connect. All right, maybe there's some of the players are slightly different, but overall, we're starting to see that all these dots we've been pulling together show that it's way more than just the current apparent occupant of the White House. There's much more intrigue and webs of corruption that are coming out, thank heavens. So do your self care.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We'll be back next week just before Valentine's Day, too. So, so see you next time.